Welcome, Irish fans, to the first edition of the new year of the Jack Swarbrick Show. On today's show, we will visit with Notre Dame hockey star Anders B. York and the digital platform manager for Fighting Irish Media, Aaron Horvath. I think you'll find that interview very interesting as well. But first of all, Jack Swarbrick, the namesake of this show, and I welcome you back from your holiday break, assuming you got one, because you've always got things going on. What did you do over the holidays?
Yeah, well, it was a great break. All the family made it home, all 4 children, so that was a great treat to have everybody together. And Christmas is a really important holiday in our household. We sort of go full bore, including a 15-foot tree that finds its way into my living room.
Real one?
A real one. Gets taken out with a chainsaw because I can't manage it otherwise. But no, it was a great holiday, and I did get a decent break. Although it's been sort of a lot of football matters post our last game of the season as we've made some changes. So that worked its way into the holiday as well.
Well, certainly we can talk about that. A number of critical positions open on the football coaching staff, and they are getting filled with quality people.
Yeah, I'm really excited about some of it. We can't yet, as we tape this show, talk about until the university process is completed. But on both ends of it, I've been so pleased. So for people we care a lot about, they've gotten some really nice opportunities. Mike Sanford going to Western Kentucky. I was with Mike yesterday. He was sort of wrapping up things in our office, and he's excited, and it's a great opportunity for him, and he certainly earned it with his great work for us, as well as his earlier stops along the way. Excited for Mike Denbrock. I think Cincinnati will be a great platform for him to get where he wants to get, which is to be a head coach. And that was not an easy choice for him to make. We would have loved to have him stay with us, but we also recognize that this path may, again, help accelerate him to his career goal. So you feel great for those guys, but it is an opportunity to sort of reinvigorate and refresh. And the thing I have been most pleased about in the various positions we have been searching for replacements in, our 2 coordinators and some position, certainly special teams. The reception to the opportunity to be here has been as strong as ever. I mean, we had such great interest and wound up in a position where, with the 3 critical coordinator hires, we were able to wind up with the person we targeted from the start of the search, and that's a great thing.
Now, that process, they've been announced now officially, haven't they, the 3 coordinator hires, or is that still being vetted?
You're really challenging me here, but I think 2 of the 3 have been officially announced.
Okay, and I know Coach Elko is one of them.
Coach Elko and Brian Polian,
yes,
have been announced, and of course, a lot of identification about Chip Long joining us. And again, I think we've got Brian. We have a lot of experience with. The other 2, though, by reputation and record and sort of the time we spent interviewing them, I couldn't be more excited about what they're going to bring to the program.
So, speaking of football, college football, we just got through the bowl season, and you're on the college football playoff committee. You've been intricately involved in the formation of the playoff and what happens to the other bowls. And there's been a school of thought that the other bowls are all meaningless, but I'm sitting in my hotel room in Pittsburgh getting ready to call that basketball game on Saturday, the men's game, which we'll talk about in a minute, and I'm watching the Orange Bowl, and I can't take my eyes off it. And then Monday night, even though I know everybody was kind of exhausted because I think overtime for holiday periods might not be a good thing, but the Rose Bowl was an enormously entertaining game. So I think that flies a little bit in the face that, well, I think everyone acknowledges, and no one has a solution, there may be too many bowl games. I think some of those other bowl games are still meaningful.
Yeah, and it remains a great opportunity for the players, and that's how we have to approach this. There may be games that aren't as well attended as we like, or draw the broadcast rating that maybe we'd like, although the broadcast ratings have been very good across the entire span of these bowl games. You have to start from the question of, is it good for the student athletes? Do they want to do it? Do they enjoy it? Is it still a good experience? And that's an unequivocal yes. I mean, we have exit an exit interview process to get their feedback at the CFP level, and they love the experience. So I think that's great. We have seen some great competition, and you get some matchups, which, just really add to the overall year. When that as you said, that Orange Bowl game was a great matchup. I confess I gave up on the Rose Bowl. I'm embarrassed to say I thought it was over, and I went and did something else. But that's great for the game, and it highlights teams that have made great progress during the year. A lot of speculation about, did the selection committee not give enough credit for momentum that Penn State and USC established at the end of the year? I don't see that at all, frankly. You only have 12 data points. You got to use them all. And both those teams got off to rocky starts. And so I think the right four teams are in the playoffs, but it's great that those other teams get featured.
Well, and I personally don't want to devalue September or the first 2 weeks of October. If you have some big wins early, I don't think you should necessarily discount them. But that leads us to the next question that you get asked constantly. Now people seem to have settled on, well, you know what? 8 would be the perfect number. Then if we get to 8, then there won't be any more arguments.
Yeah.
First of all, do you see it ever getting to 8?
Oh, never
and
say.
Would you want it to get to 8?
Never say never, but it won't be anytime
soon.
Sort of, not even soon. But I can't imagine it. I think the first time that question even is likely to be asked, if it ever is, in the mid-20s. So there's just no momentum for it. I was interested to read today a survey of students who participated in the bowl games. They don't want it expanded, or in the playoffs. They don't want it expanded. And a lot of that has to do with
then you got to win 3 football games.
Well, the physical
it's
toll,
almost NFL-like
the
now.
physical toll on these guys is really significant. And so, I think it was 75% of the athletes who participated in the 2 semifinal games said they would not want an expanded playoff. And we have to listen to them. We have to listen to the university presidents. But it's working. And as you say, the thing we were trying to balance, keep the bowls vital, but have a meaningful playoff, I think 4 has hit that on the head.
What I think, when you talk to the players about the bowls, even if it's not a playoff bowl, most of the bowls do a great job of entertaining the players. It's the one time where they can be given some pretty cool stuff, so they certainly like that. I know we were talking with Niles Morgan mid-season, and there's always, well, you may not be able to go here, but you can go to this bowl. Do you want to play this? What about this week? How do you get up? And his answer to everything was, it's more football. Well, what about the next game? It's more football. What if you get to a bowl game? Yeah, it's more football. A lot of these guys just love to play at that level. They have a love of the game.
Yeah, believe me, we there's nobody in our program who didn't want to be in a bowl.
I wasn't going down that road at all.
And and there are all kinds of benefits to it. But one of the underappreciated benefits is the time you spend together at the bowl, because you don't get to do that. We get it when we go to Culver at the start of camp. But other than that, when you're on the road, on a road game, you leave campus at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon. You sort of get in, you do a walkthrough, you go to bed, you get up, you play. It's not the same as when you're in a bowl city for 4 or 5 days, and you really spend a lot of time together.
Now, most of the campus is still dark. The students are still on break for another 10 days or so. There are 3 teams on campus right now and working out. One of them is the hockey team, and we'll have Anders Bjork coming up here in a little bit, so we won't want to take too much of the fire away from that, other than they just had a terrific sweep this weekend where Cal Peterson came up with back-to-back shutouts this weekend up in Alaska, and that was certainly impressive.
Yeah, no, it was great. I was able to watch, although I wasn't here, most of those games, and I thought we really played well. I think offensively, this team's really developing a flow. And Cal, we've had him on the show, is really one of the premier goalies in the country. So this is going to be a very interesting weekend for the hockey team. This is a great test, maybe the hottest team in the country coming in here, and it'll give us a good measuring stick of where we are.
Women's basketball team back on campus. They're now 13-2, 1-1 in the ACC. They're ranked 7th in the AP and coaches poll, which for them is low. But I think if nothing else, they're kind of searching to reach the absolute elite level we expect from them. Maybe that's hard when everybody always expects you to always win and never lose. But I know they're delighted to be home because they're going to play their first home game in 6 games. They've been away for 6 straight games.
Yeah, I was talking to Muffet about that yesterday. She said it's just so good to be home, and they're really looking forward to that. How great a testament it is to is it to a program that when it loses a conference game, it's big news? You know, these guys hadn't lost a conference game since they joined the conference, and they lost one. And you know, I think it's going to help them. I think you know, you never want to do that, and Lord knows Muffet doesn't want to. But you know, some of the things we still have to get right with that team. That game helped us, I think, understand better. I've been to 2 of the practices this week, and they have been intense. And that intensity is part of what Muffet's looking for.
Then if we shift to the men's side of the ACC equation, I think it's virtually unanimous now that folks all across the country believe that the men's ACC is by far the number one, deepest, most talented college basketball conference in the country. And then it opens up with the craziest weekend that I can remember. Duke loses on the road. North Carolina loses at Georgia Tech. That's the first time they have both lost on the same weekend since 1989. And then Florida State goes and beats Virginia. And in light of that, Notre Dame's overtime victory at Pittsburgh, I know it's the first game of the year. That's a huge win, Jack.
Oh, it was. And man, that was a good call on Vestorius 3. That was one energetic call. Yeah, I think your first point's an important one. There's always debate every year about what conference is the best. I don't hear it this year because people recognize the depth of the ACC. You may argue that, you know, this team at the top of its conference is better, or these 2 teams, and we'll find out in postseason. But in terms of depth, you know, we're very focused. We're doing this show on Wednesday, and we have a big game with Louisville tonight. We're very focused on that. But Clemson looks really good. They're really good, and they're coming in, of course, Saturday, and just up and down this. You mentioned Georgia Tech playing so much better. It's going to be a challenge. I saw Rick Pitino said 10 wins may win the conference. That could be. I mean, it's going to be that kind of year in the ACC. Although, having watched those guys play IU, Louisville, that is one team that presents a defensive challenge. It's hard to replicate.
That's the tape, certainly, that I've studied. Although against Louisville, Notre Dame has had great success heading into tonight's game. Notre Dame's won the last 5 here. And I think Rick Pitino has great respect for Mike Bray in this program. But it's, you know, Mike always talks about things evening out. I sure as hell hope they don't even out this evening because Louisville's kind of due. But the team that really seems to give Notre Dame trouble defensively is Virginia. They've had trouble with Virginia. They've been able to handle Louisville. So, you know, we'll see. But it's good. Are your fellow athletic directors also kind of acknowledging that the ACC is the best? And this is important for this reason. There's going to be 10 or 11, maybe more, NCAA tournament teams in the ACC at the end of the year. Will they get that kind of love from the selection committee? The Big East was getting it at the end, and there seems to have been a reluctance in recent years. Well, yeah, the ACC is pretty good, but nobody wants to give one conference all that capital.
Yeah. You know, there's no selection committee I have more confidence in than the men's basketball selection committee. They work so hard, and they look at everything, and they watch tons of games. And they really do make an independent judgment. If there's one process that's apolitical, it's this one. So just as with the Big East, I think if they see the quality, you know, it is going to depend a lot on how teams that are perceived in the bottom half of the conference do during the conference season. Because if everybody in the conference winds up within a couple of games of 500 and the bottom third of the conference isn't perceived as particularly strong, then it doesn't help you. But if it is perceived as strong, then you do wind up in a position, as we frequently did in the Big East, where you can make a case for so many teams. So I think that's where we are with the ACC this year, and I think we're that way with the women. The ACC women as well. I think the depth emerging there, which we found out with North Carolina State. It's not a 2 or 3 team women's conference anymore either.
And certainly when you look at the bottom of the league, and this may not be good news for Notre Dame, but the one team that most people assume is going to struggle is Boston College, and they're not. They've already beaten Providence. They have an ACC win, and Notre Dame's got to play them twice. When you look at Notre Dame's repeat games, they're not easy. They got to play Louisville twice. Georgia Tech just beat Carolina. You got to play them twice. And Florida State just went in and beat Virginia. So that's always – I'm old school. I wish you played everybody twice. The leagues are too big to do that. but that can make a difference too. And Notre Dame certainly isn't going to have much easy in their repeat games.
No, and you think you know what that's going to be like going into the season, and of course you're always wrong. Syracuse will get it figured out, but who thought Syracuse would have the challenges they've had to this point in the season? And that's, you got to let it play out, right? And we're learning a lot more, but our schedule looks much, much harder than we might have thought when we came into the season.
But that's the good point. If Boston College can beat Syracuse, it's a very balanced league. So
yeah.
We have a lot to talk about still on this edition, the first edition of 2017 of the Jack Swarbrick Show, and we will have Anders Bjork coming in here to talk about a very talented Notre Dame hockey team coming off a big sweep of Alaska right after this first time.
I play because I love it, the enjoyment and excitement you get when you play.
Whenever we go out and play a home game, I know to expect at least 8,000 people. It really just pumps me up.
It's an unreal feeling just knowing that everyone's there to watch you do what you love.